So this hive is a good example. You know, we're in the middle of the honey flow, and they're not doing a whole lot up in their honey super. So I want to take a look at what's going on. So when we take the lid off, you can see there's not a lot of activity up in the honey super. We've done the checkerboarding that we talked about, but they're really just not doing a whole lot. I mean, this is their only honey super, and there's not many bees up here. They've stored some honey in these previously drawn frames, but they're really not drawing any foundation out. And so I use, you know, when I'm checking my bees this time of year, I'm just popping lids, and I'm just looking at the population up in that top honey super. If that top honey super is full of bees and they're bringing in nectar and they're working hard, I'm not checking down below this time of year. I'm just focusing, you know, if there's a bunch of activity up in the honey supers, I'm not that concerned about them. When I open a hive and I see that there's not a lot of bees up in my honey super and they're not really doing much work, that tells me I need to check below and see what's going on. And so this is one of those hives where there wasn't much going on in the honey super, and so I'm going to dig down below and see what's going on. So I'm going to start pulling frames out to get a feel for what's happening. And right away I can tell you that they are queenless. So all the frames in the brood box look like this. There's nothing going on. I've got just empty frames. They've got some nectar, some pollen, but no eggs and no larvae. Now I can see where a queen cell hatched out right here. I don't know when it hatched out, but I did have a queen hatch at some point in the past, but I still don't see any eggs or larvae. So I could have a virgin in here that just hasn't mated and started laying yet. Or something could have happened to that virgin and she died. Anytime I have a hive that's not queenless, anytime I have a hive that is queenless, this time of year, you know, when it's June or July, you know, it's not that easy to find queens. I always just give them a frame of eggs and larvae from another hive. And so that's what I've done with this hive. I did it just before I started taking the video. I got this beautiful frame of eggs and larvae. You probably can't see it in the video. But I found a frame of eggs and larvae from a different hive with brood on it, brood, eggs, larvae. And I put it inside this queenless hive. Now, two things are gonna happen. One, they were queenless and they needed a queen, and now they'll raise their own queen. And it's, you know, early enough in the year that they should raise their own queen, she'll mate, and they should be okay. If it was April, I probably would have given them a queen and they might have made a super of honey for me. But this late in the year, you know, June, I'll give them a frame of eggs and larvae, and if they needed a queen, now they'll now be able to raise one. Plus, that frame of brood will boost up that hive strength a little bit in the long run. If this hive did have a virgin queen and they're on the verge of laying, then great, I just boosted up their strength by giving them a frame of brood. And then I can also go back in 3 or 4 days and check on this frame of eggs and larvae that I gave them. And if they're drawing out queen cells all over the place, I know it was indeed queenless. And I can let them, you know, continue the process. But I am always very generous and very quick to give weak hives or possibly queenless hive frames of brood from other stronger hives, because it's never going to hurt them, and it's just going to boost their population and allow them to raise a new queen if they need it. I even frequently, you know, when I'm inspecting hives, if I have one hive that's just overflowing with bees and packed with brood, and I've got another hive that maybe has a queen, but they're just not as strong, I'll shake the bees off of a frame of brood from my strong hive and give it to my weaker hive. So I'm kind of constantly going through, and what I do, I'm calling equalize. I'm always equalizing my bees, taking brood from the stronger hives, giving it to the weaker hives to boost up their strength. So it's kind of a good practice to get into almost any time of the year in beekeeping. So one other quick note, if you have a hard time seeing eggs and larvae, check out our video. We emailed a video out to our whole mailing list a couple weeks ago that I made on how to find eggs and larvae. You can also find that on our YouTube channel. It's a whole video on how to find eggs and larvae that will hopefully be helpful for you.